In 1989, Sega unleashed a revolutionary hack-and-slash arcade game that infused the genre with high fantasy tropes. With its innovative magic bar system, rideable mounts, and beautiful level design, Golden Axe captured arcade crowds worldwide, ranking among '89's top-grossing titles and spawning a lasting franchise across home consoles. Greetings, arcade goers, and welcome back to Arcade Economy. In my last episode, we tackled The Simpsons arcade game, a Konami classic and one of the most iconic arcade beat-em-ups of all time. This time, I put out a community poll, and you guys crowned Golden Axe as the next video in the series. So today, we're diving into Golden Axe to determine just how many quarters it would have taken to rescue the Princess of Uria from Death Adder's tyranny. And as always, we'll be determining how predatory this game was in its quest for your coin. Now, in these videos, I like to talk about the development of each game leading up to its release, and then I'll go into the ports and the franchise and spin-offs that it may have spawned following the release. So if that's something you're not into and you just want to know how much I've spent, then feel free to use the chapters in the timeline below to get to where you need to go. But if you're a fan of video game history and want to learn a little bit more about this game, then I invite you to stay to watch the whole video. So without further ado, let's get to it. Let's go all the way back to 1988 and meet Sega video game developer Makoto Uchida. I hope I said that correctly. Makoto was fresh off of the success of his latest arcade hit, Altered Beast. For his next game, Uchida was looking to create something similar to Enix's RPG Dragon Quest. Sega execs, however, didn't share his vision and instead wanted to create something that appealed to the arcade scene, which continued to grow in popularity at the time. Uchida opted to make a game similar to Technos' Double Dragon, but knew he had to create something completely different in order to compete. Uchida was a big fan of the Conan the Barbarian film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and would go on to use this as the basis of his inspiration for his next game. With the aesthetic of Conan, magic abilities inspired by Dragon Quest, and gameplay of Double Dragon, Uchida created Golden Axe with a team of only 5 people. Golden Axe released into arcades worldwide in May of 1989. The game saw instant success, which of course meant a large list of ports would follow. Less than a year later, Golden Axe was released on Sega's flagship console, the Genesis, or Mega Drive for those of you outside North America. This version proved to be a big hit for the home console. It's a fantastic port and even added an extra level and new game mode. The Genesis version is by far the most faithful port of the game. A scaled down version also was released for Sega's Master System in March of 1990. Speaking of the Master System, the following year in 1991 would see a Golden Axe spin-off exclusive to the console with Golden Axe Warrior. However, this game deviated from the previous title, instead acting as a Legend of Zelda type ripoff. By 1992, Sega would release 3 more Golden Axe games across different platforms. Sega Genesis got the exclusive sequel, Golden Axe 2. Sega Game Gear got its own game with Axe Battler, A Legend of Golden Axe. And arcades received the exclusive Golden Axe, The Revenge of Death Adder. In 1993, Golden Axe 3 released in Japan for the Mega Drive, and later in 1994 in North America via the Sega Channel. And in 1994, Sega released a fighting game titled Golden Axe The Duel for arcades and the Sega Saturn. This marked the end of a 6-year span of consecutively released Golden Axe games. Gamers would have to wait until 2008 for Sega to release its next installment, Golden Axe Beast Rider, for the PS3 and Xbox 360. And according to fans, it wasn't really worth the wait. Now, although I've known about Golden Axe for years, this was really the first time that I actually sat down for an extended period of time to play the game. As I go into the game's narrative, there is a high chance that I'm going to butcher some of the names of people and or places, but just know, I'm trying here. The game unfolds in the mythical realm of Uria, a high fantasy medieval kingdom. An evil warlord known as Death Adder has seized the Golden Axe, Uria's sacred emblem, and used its power to imprison both the king and his daughter. He threatens to shatter the Golden Axe and annihilate the royal line unless all of Uria bows to his tyrannical rule. In response, 3 warriors rise to the challenge. Axe Battler, a towering barbarian driven by the vengeance for his murdered mother. Gilius Thunderhead, a dwarf from the mines of Wolud, avenging the death of his twin brother at Death Adder's hands. And Tyris Flare, a fierce Amazonian warrior determined to punish Death Adder for slaying her parents. United by grief and righteous fury, these heroes trek through Uria, liberating a village atop a giant turtle shell, mounting colossal eagles to cross stormy seas, and attack Death Adder's fortress on a mission to free the captives, enact vengeance, and restore peace. Only by confronting Death Adder himself can they hope to reclaim the Golden Axe, rescue Uria's royal family, and end his reign of terror once and for all. Golden Axe is a beat-em-up that emphasizes the use of melee-based weapons, which is actually what we call a hack and slash, a subgenre of the beat-em-up. This game was released in a 2-player cabinet, and at the start of the game, players must choose between our 3 heroes, Axe, Gilius, and Tyris. Hitting attack repeatedly will cycle through a series of attacks for a powerful combo. While an enemy is stunned, you can close in and press attack to throw them. Characters can jump and attack while in air, or push jump and attack together for a back attack. Pushing forward twice on the joystick allows players to dash, and attacking while doing this will lead to a dash attack. Where the game really sets itself apart from other beat-em-ups is in the use of magical abilities and mounting steeds. Throughout each level, bag-carrying gnomes will appear during the breaks in action. Players are encouraged to kick these gnomes, who will then drop magic potions. These potions can be collected to increase your magic strength and then be used for an attack that damages enemies on screen. The more potions you collect, the stronger your magic attack will be, but this will fall back to 0 after using the ability. 3 different steeds, known as Bizarrians, will appear throughout the game and can be ridden after knocking off an enemy or found dormant. Enemies can also hop on dormant steeds, so be quick. The first steed is a cockatrice, which may look familiar for those of you who played Altered Beast. While riding the cockatrice, you can attack with the swipe of your tail. Later in the game, 2 different dragons appear as steeds and can either breathe fire or shoot fireballs. This was a surprise to me. I had no idea that you could do this in the game, and it's something that I don't really see in a lot of beat-em-ups, and for this to be an earlier beat-em-up coming out in 1989, I was just shocked that this was a function of this game, and I had so much fun being able to ride the steeds and take down enemies on the steeds. Unlike most of the other beat-em-ups I've played where the characters have subtle differences in playstyle, Golden Axe's characters are very unique to one another. Tyris has the shortest range, but is the quickest and has one of the best dash attacks. Her back attack is a twirling sword spin, which I found wasn't super effective and often got countered. She has the most powerful magic of the 3, being able to hold up to 9 total potions. To coincide with her last name being Flare, her magic attacks are fire-based, with her full capacity attack being this awesome dragon that deals major damage. Gilius has the most range, but at the sacrifice of his magic ability. His dash is okay, but not as quick as Tyris's. His back attack is a roll that I found to be very effective and provides good defense against enemies. His magic ability uses lightning, and is by far the weakest of the 3, only being able to hold up to 4 magic potions. Still, among the 3 characters, I found Gilius to be my favorite to play as. Then there's Axe, who's a balance between the 2. He has medium range and medium speed, and his back attack is the same as Tyris's. His magic ability generates explosions, with his maximum capacity generating what appears to be a nuke. He can hold up to 6 magic potions. There are a total of 9 stages in Golden Axe, although really there are only 5, with 4 of the stages being bonus stages that play in between levels. And for this game being as old as it is, the background scenery in these levels are incredibly gorgeous. I was blown away by the pixel art while playing, specifically in the levels while riding on the giant tortoise or riding on the giant eagle. Each stage finishes with a boss battle, and after you complete that stage, bosses will return as normal enemies in future levels. First boss fight is against the 2 bad brothers. If you're lucky enough to hang on to a cockatrice until you get to them, they shouldn't give you too much trouble, but if not, watch out because they can get in close for throws. The second boss is a skeleton ripped straight from Jason and the Argonauts. He's not really much of a fight and can be easily disposed of by using your steed's attack, if you have one, or saving your magic. The third boss is where it starts to get a little tougher and is where you'll face Lieutenant Bitters. His sword gives him quite the range. I also found that he countered most of my dash attacks, so I was sure to avoid using those after some failed experiments. Boss 4 isn't a boss at all, but instead an endurance where you must face 4 waves of enemies. The trick here is to try and keep them on one side of the screen to avoid being flanked. And finally the last boss, Death Adder. I tried taking out his minions first before dealing with him. I also saved up all of my magic for this battle, and used it to take a chunk of his HP away. Death Adder has a big axe swing with incredible range, which I just tried to avoid. He also has a ground attack that is powerful if it hits you, but leaves him vulnerable. I found that the easiest way to defeat him was to get into a jump attack rhythm which he's not able to get out of. Now, as I said before, this was really the first time that I sat down to play Golden Axe, and it was awesome. I had a blast with it. I can't believe I slept on this game for so long. The game is way before its time, and it's become one of, if not my favorite game that I've played through the series so far. The only kind of negative, and this is like real nitpicky thing that I can say, is that it was really short. It only took me about 20 minutes to beat, whereas the other beat 'em ups I've played are usually double that, around like 35-40 minutes. But that being said, I thoroughly enjoyed this so much that I played through it 3 times, and I'm also really interested in going back and playing the rest of the series. Well, maybe not Beast Rider.
What blasphemy is this?
And now for the question you've all been waiting for: how much did I spend to beat Golden Axe? Now, if you're new here, let me give you the lowdown. I played the arcade versions of these games on their default settings, and I set up a counter to increase every time I hit the insert coin button. For Golden Axe, that means that every play was 25 cents. It gave me 2 lives, and the game was set to medium difficulty. Now recently, I've been getting some comments from you guys about adding more data to my findings, which I'm going to try to do in this video. So after it was all said and done, on my first ever playthrough of Golden Axe, I beat this game for just $3 as Axe. Because it was so short, and because I had such a good time, I went back and played it 2 more times with Gilius and Tyris, and beat it with all 3 characters. On my other 2 playthroughs, I beat the game for just $2.25, now that I had a little bit more of an understanding of how to play the game and how to do some of the moves. But for the sake of this show, we'll put my $3 playthrough into the record books. Adjust that for inflation, and spending $3 in 1989 would feel like spending $7.84 today. If you're playing on 50-cent plays, then that would be $6, which in 1989 would feel like $15.69 today. Since it took me around 20 minutes to beat the game, that means I spent about 15 cents per minute. When it comes to the bosses, they were relatively easy. I didn't spend any money on the first 3 bosses. When I got to the 4 wave gauntlet, I did spend 50 cents, and I spent 75 cents on Death Adder. So, as to be expected, Death Adder is where I spent most of my money. Now it's time to bust out my predatory game scale and determine just how predatory this game was. Surprisingly, at only $3, this is not the lowest price that I've paid to beat a game in this series. That honor goes to the Punisher, but it is pretty close. I had a blast playing this game. It still holds up today. I didn't notice any standout predatory practices in this game, and even if we take my first playthrough as kind of a learning experience, I almost shaved off a whole $1 on my plays that I did after. Great game, highly recommend. So on my predatory game scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not predatory at all and 5 being extremely predatory, I'm going to give Golden Axe a 2 out of 5. Next time on Arcade Economy, I'm jumping into one of my favorite franchises of all time with the original Mortal Kombat from 1992. So I hope you'll join me on that one. If you liked this video, it would mean a great deal to me if you could give it a big thumbs up. Please let me know any other games you'd like to see me dive into, or give me any suggestions for any videos you'd like to see me do in the future. Also, you can always connect with me on Discord or on social media. I'll leave those links in the description. Thank you for watching and for your support. Until next time.